This video contains scary images as well as horror content. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello guys, my name's Epifox and welcome to another Top 10 Countdown. Now, in the true spirit of October, I've decided to do a countdown truly deserving of this month. The top 10 pumpkin-flavored things, and the number 10... Just kidding. In the spirit of Halloween in October, I've decided to do a countdown of the top 10 horror games. Now, these games are not just strictly the scariest games I know. They are games that are not only scary, but they are actually decent games. These are games, if you haven't played, you should probably go check out if you like horror games. They have a good storyline and actually have really good gameplay. So, for games that will either make you piss your pants, or will give you nightmare fuels for days, here's my top 10 horror game countdown. Number 10. Bioshock. Now, this game was probably a little biased and honestly isn't as scary as I let on, but this was the first horror game, or so-called scary game, I brought home. I brought it home and started playing it all alone, turned off the lights because somebody told me to, because it was better atmosphere. I started playing it, and with the dark atmosphere and low ammunition, it did get kind of scary. But after a little bit, you do realize that the splicers, even though they are a few jump scares, are just as easily to kill with a few bullets and are no real actual threat. Also, it seems like the atmosphere lightens up as you go with that 1950s swing theme. It really isn't that scary. However, the first time you run into a Big Daddy, you will wet yourself, because those things are creepy and scary and very, very overpowered. Number 9. Dead Space. This game did it right with the atmosphere. A horrible, disgusting layout of mangled bodies coming back to life trying to kill you. The worst part is they'll pretend to be dead till you walk past them and then jump up and kill you. This made horrifying gameplay because you never know which ones are actually dead and which ones are alive. So you just kind of have to tiptoe around and hopefully not run across one that's still alive thinking it's dead and then jumps up and kills you. However, after playing this game a little bit, you figure out the controls are pretty difficult, but after figuring them out, going through the ship a while, you realize that you can just kind of shoot your way through anything and blast your way through any obstacle, and the game kind of loses that horror feel. However, it always is kind of scary with the dark atmosphere and blood everywhere. Number 8. Condemned. This game had a perfect atmosphere. It had no guns, and the only thing that you had to really defend yourself with was weapons that caused you to be up close and personal with your enemies. This brought a horror factor to a whole new level, because you have to be right up close to your enemy to actually attack them. However, the gameplay is actually not bad, but you gotta remember, it's a bash and smash game, so your enemies aren't super strong, and usually you just bash their heads in a few times and they're dead. However, the game comes up with these messed up ideas of twisting reality with some nightmare hellish world, and yeah, it gets pretty creepy. That's why this one fell at number 8. Number 7. Doom 3. This game was a remaster of the 1 and 2, but with a dark twist. Dark, scary, and straight out of hell, literally. With this game's upped graphics and limited flashlight dark rooms, this was truly horrifying. Plus, if you played the first two as a kid, you gain this nostalgia creepiness, and it becomes a truly horrifying game. Number 6. Slender The Arrival. Now, Slenderman, the original 8 pages, was scary enough whenever you first played it, but after playing it for about 10 minutes, you realized it was just a running simulator that you had to run around and collect pages as some tall freak chased you around. It was difficult, but it wasn't that scary after a while. Slender The Arrival put a whole new twist on it. Not only did you have to collect the 8 pages, but then you had mysteries and other things you had to solve, and you had to turn on generators and make your way through a house and other things. And it had a cool story to it, too, that followed. Also, the upped graphics were horrifying. Altogether, it was a good game, but after dying like 4 or 5 times, instead of trying to avoid Slendy, you usually ended up trying to go on a mission to find old Slendy and kick his tentacles. Number 5. Amnesia. This game was actually horrifying for me. If you got over playing with the physics long enough to actually look at the game, you realize that, oh my gosh, this game is horrifying. Also, You don't get weapons. There's no way of fighting back. The only choice you have is run like a little bitch and hide, because these things are coming after you, and they are horrifying looking. If you've ever seen the grunts from Amnesia, they're spooky, and they are trying to kill you, as well as many other monsters coming after you. And you have no way of protecting yourself except for hiding in cupboards, under beds, or wherever you can shove yourself. Also, the level with the water monster is truly a nightmare out of hell. Trying to avoid a monster that's completely invisible, and the only way to tell where it is by splashes in the water, so you have to navigate over boxes trying to figure out puzzles. This game becomes extremely scary. Also, you have something called your sanity meter, and every time you witness something freaky or uncanny, you lose some of your meter, making the game a little bit more difficult to play. Number 4. Outlast. I had a hard time setting this one above Amnesia, or Amnesia above it. But Outlast came out in the end because, first of all, it's set in an asylum. I mean, what's creepier than a mental asylum that's broken down? Also, you have the fact that the game is a lot darker than Amnesia. It's terrifying the way that everything is a lot darker, and you have these things out to kill you, and you can't see any of them. The only light that you have in Outlast is your camera, and it's got a night vision on it. And also, it sucks batteries like a goddamn 1960s toy where you had to put the batteries in every 10 seconds. You guys remember the old PS2 remotes that were wireless, the first ones? And you went through like 16 AA's in one day? Ah, the good days. Anyway, this game was scary enough without having to try to find batteries, but also had plenty of jump scares and crazy enemies, and you also had these mental patients around the asylum. Some of them were docile and would just talk, while others wanted to disembowel you and use your body as a sleeping bag. And here's the best part. You don't know which one's which. Number 3. SCP Containment Breach. Now, a lot of people actually went against this one whenever I talked to the people about my top 10. They couldn't believe that I put it up there, but honestly, after playing this game, I was truly horrified. This was nightmare fuel for days. Also, that little creepy bitch SCP-173, I apologize for that, actually came out before the Weeping Angels, a statue that moved only when not viewed. Yeah, and he snapped your neck, and that little bitch got me so many goddamn times, I just wanted to kick him in his ass. However, I know if I did, I'd stub my toe, and then I'd blink and end up with another broken neck, and that was one thing I did not want to go through again. However, this game doesn't need a dark atmosphere. However, it gives you one. You are trapped in a prison of the world's most deadly, unstoppable entities. Oh, now you're loose in the prison. Oh, but so are they. Well, have fun finding your way through this. Oh yeah, by the way, the military is invading with their most elite task force. Avoid them, avoid the entities, and try to get out. Sounds easy enough? Huh. Try it for yourself. Number 2. Five Nights at Freddy's. Now, I really only like the first and the fourth game, to be honest. I mean, all the games are great. The first and the fourth one are truly the scariest in my mind. The second game had way too many mechanics that you had to deal with in order to try to make it a good game. It was just trying too hard. The gameplay was so difficult to beat, and you had so many things you had to worry about. It just wasn't scary anymore, and it was more or less a panic rush to try to get everything done so you didn't get killed. Number 3 was good, but the problem was they relied way too much on jump scares, and half the time the jump scares didn't even have any kind of consequence to them. Number 1 was horrifying because it was the first time that I've ever felt that kind of fear. You're literally helpless. You can't, unlike Amnesia, you can't move. Amnesia, at least you can hide. This game, you're literally sitting in a chair, unable to move, in an office, and all you can do is shut doors, turn on lights, and look at your little computer screen, giving you this feeling of complete isolation and complete cutoff from the world. Also, in number 4, it made you terrified because you feel like a child, and the feeling of a child makes you even more helpless. Number 1, unfortunately, got old after the third night because it became a routine rather than a gameplay. But number 4 kept it up. Number 4 managed to impress me every single time because the only way to actually find out where the enemy is by hearing him breathe, which means you need to turn your audio up. But that also scares you because if you get jump scared, the jump scare is 6 times as loud. Overall, Five Nights at Freddy's is one of my favorite games of all time. I just loved the gameplay, and it was such a good game. And the story behind it is so terrifying, and it's such a mystery. Now, before I get to number 1, I'd like to read off a few honorable mentions. These are 5 games that I thought deserved a place on the list, but they didn't quite cut the top 10. Fear. Fear is a great game. It goes up there with Condemned in the shooter, fear, horror kind of genre, but when I played it, it actually wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. I guess it was just overbuilt. Everybody made it out to be this horrifying, super terrifying game where you were going to die. Oh no, run away! Well, honestly, to be truthful, it really wasn't that scary. It had a few good jump scares and eerie moments, and the entire gameplay was kind of eerie, but it was just another shooter, Modern Warfare, with a little bit of horror in it, and it didn't make that big of an impression on me. The Witch's House. Now, if you like horror RPG maker games, this is the game for you. This game was amazing, with unfortunate twists everywhere. You never know what was good and what was bad, what was going to kill you and what wasn't. Literally, you could find a piece of paper on the ground and go to read it and die. Look at a clock, die. Stab some painting in the face, oh look, you found a key. It was so topsy-turvy, and you never knew what you were going to get into. And even though it was an RPG horror maker, so it didn't have the best graphics, it was top-down, it truly freaked me out, because every 10 seconds I was dying, and you never knew what was coming after you. Though the gameplay can be extremely frustrating, because you don't know what's coming, and you don't know how to beat it. Silent Hill. This game was amazing. I actually liked this game quite a bit for 1, 2, and 3, and PT. And holy cow, did PT scare the living crap out of me. That game was terrifying. However, PT has been removed, so therefore it doesn't count on the list anymore. And without that on the list, it doesn't get in the top 10, unfortunately. The first 3 games are good, but I guess they're just a little outdated compared to the rest of the games that have been put on the list. Also, Silent Hill made it feel more like a shooter and kind of runner game, because you shot and you had to fight the enemies, but after 4 or 5 enemies, you kind of got an understanding of what you were fighting, and you were able to kill them. However, Pyramid Head still creeps me out to this day. He was an amazing enemy, and he still is out there somewhere, tromping around, killing people, I guess. I don't know. He was really cool, though. Evil Within. Evil Within was a great game, great gameplay, and actually had that Resident Evil feel, which kind of ruined it for me because I hate Resident Evil. The gameplay in Resident Evil is awful, except for the original old ones where you were in the mansion. But after that, Resident Evil was just awful, and the Evil Within unfortunately takes that way too far, making another Resident Evil game, and it just wasn't that great. Also, the storyline was hard as balls to follow, and it just didn't make much sense. Penumbra. This game I'd actually started doing a playthrough on, and I deleted it because my commentary was crap. So I realized I probably should have played a little bit before I got in and actually played it. I didn't realize that it was a physics game or anything like that, so it didn't have very good playthrough. I think I'm going to come back and revisit it eventually, but it is a very good game. It has its creeps and jump scares and factors, but it didn't make it on the list because, unlike Outlast and Amnesia, it just didn't have that, I don't know, that feel to it that you needed. That feel that you were being hunted and you were completely helpless. That feel that made you super scared. That's what truly makes a good horror game, besides the atmosphere, is that feeling that you could possibly die at any moment, and you're completely helpless. You just got to do whatever you possibly can to get away. Now, for number 1, and this definitely earned its place on the top of the list, Alien Isolation. This game did it right. Overall, it took the original Alien and upped its game. The movie was scary enough, but this thing, oh my gosh. And the best part is the Alien is actually on an AI system that changes to match your gameplay, which means every gameplay is a little bit different, and it can catch you off guard and give you a true feeling of horror. Also, the seemingly indestructible aliens coming after you. You also have other things like androids and the occasional person trying to kill you, and so you're constantly trying to run for your life. But nothing's more terrifying than that moment when you see that little motion sensor coming towards you and you know you're going to be face to face with an alien and there's nothing you can do. And remember, no one can hear you scream in space. This has been my top 10 list of horror games. My name's Epifox, and thank you so much for joining me. If you like this video, leave a like, please. More videos by me, hit the subscribe button. And leave a comment below letting me know what top 10 horror games you like. A few of the horror games that I didn't involve were Fatal Frame, because I haven't played the game personally or seen very much of it. And so I didn't feel that it was fair to put it on this list, because I don't know enough about it. Dread Halls. I've heard that game was amazingly good and extremely horrifying. However, it was just kind of a short indie game that didn't have much of a plot to it, and so I didn't really want to add it. Well, that concludes my list, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.